just doing what Miami Dolphins do.
The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown.
Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got it there. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. Ballgame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for yet another one, another episode of the Finish Line, and we got a jam-packed one tonight. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, the legendary Richmond Webb, the triple OG Mr. Ballgame. This is the first time we have gotten together live since the Poyer firing, and we got a lot to discuss, because it was something we were discussing the day before. We're going to kick it off. We're going to get into the Fangio stuff. But before we do, as always, gentlemen, how are you feeling on this week as we head into the brisk final days of January and into the early days of February? How are y'all feeling?
Well, I'm feeling good. Good evening, gentlemen. I feel good heading into the AFC, NFC championship weekend. The games have been good. The only disappointment is we're not playing in it. But like I said, we've made progress this year, but I'm not going to really get into that. But just happy to just watch some good football. And other than that, and let's get into this news about, what you got coming up. So I'm sure it's real juicy. So I'm just waiting to see what it is, because a lot of times we get hit in the mouth with whatever you got too. You don't share it with us. So I'm going to just roll with the punches. But other than that, I'm good. See my man, Mr. Ballgame down there. Look like he in a mighty good mood today. What's up, Mr. Ballgame?
It's flyer than a piece of paper.
Good.
His name.
Good. Glad to see you guys, man. Oh, well, it's I'm looking forward to a very positive offseason, man. So I'm in a good mood, man. I think the team is in a really good space right now. Things could have probably been better throughout the season, but for the most part, we accomplished one of the goals, and at this point now, everything else is pretty much on par for continued success. So I don't have no gripes about it. I think they're gonna make the right decisions to do the things necessary to maximize the potential of these players, and as long as they make smart moves and moves that make sense, then I think we're gonna be happy with the end product. So anxious to hear what you got to. I'm anxious to hear what you got to say as well. So let's get to it.
Well, what I'm going to tell people is, if you aren't already, go sign up patreon.com/Finside the NFL. I dropped a massive Fangio update last night about the 4 teams that I've been told are interested. I also go into detail why they're interested, how it works, all of that. Also, I doubled down on what I've been hearing in regards to Sean Desai and Vic Fangio in the same report that I posted yesterday on Patreon. It's also, you can become a channel member on YouTube. And if you are a channel member, it'll be under the community tab. I doubled down about what I'm saying in terms of what I'm hearing about, because I'm hearing it even further, that if Sean Desai does not get a promotion, he isn't going to come in a potential lateral movement or better promotion under Fangio, be his right-hand man in Miami. But also in that same report, I mentioned a third name I'm hearing as part of that staff. So go check that out. And then tonight on the Patreon, I'm going to have an update about the name I'm hearing, who the contingency plan is for Tua Tagovailoa that's being eyed by Mike McDaniel and the staff. I'll also be dropping after midnight sometime tonight my 3 Take Thursday, which is a Patreon only content. It's a 15-minute video. I'm going to give in 3 takes on the defensive coordinator search. Hell, I might even save the nugget in terms of the quarterback contingency plan nugget for that video, which will be Patreon only. So anyways, that'll be coming to the Patreon tonight, patreon.com/Finside the NFL. Also, please smash the like button as you come through. Let's get into this. Let's start it all off. So, gentlemen, okay, we're going to go through chronologically here what people woke up to, and we're going to go through a couple things here. So, Dolphin fans, they woke up this morning to this this first report here. And this first report from Ian Rappaport was very interesting in terms of it's deeper, and it plays off of what I had a bunch of people tagging me saying reasons right again. And here is what Ian Rappaport said right here. So go into here. Associate head coach and defensive assistant Sean Desai and former Broncos head coach and longtime DC Vic Fangio are both interviewing for the Dolphins defensive coordinator job today, sources say. Why does this matter? Because I've been telling everyone since last week, like I just mentioned when we opened up here, that I am hearing if Fangio comes here, Desai is going to be coming here. I said in my report yesterday, I went into depth about this interview. This interview is more than a defensive coordinator position. All right? This is more than just about defensive coordinator position, and I go into depth on the Patreon about that. So, gentlemen, right now, what is sitting in front of you is today, and you don't got to be Sherlock to put it together. Today, what a coincidence that we interviewed the mentor and his number one protege in terms of with what I'm saying about them coming over here together. Now, Richmond, you know what they do in these kind of interviews. It's not just, hey, are you going to be defensive? They're interested in Vic Fangio, and he's his protege. Everyone knows that. They're going to ask about Vic Fangio. They're going to do even more background research about Vic Fangio. And another conversation that I believe was had was wink, wink, hint, hint. If Fangio comes here, are you open? Are you willing, if you do not get a promotion, to come here? And listen, that's the thing where Fangio gets a head coaching position in a couple of years, Desai gets promoted, or Desai could get promoted underneath them to a defensive coordinator, another team. Your guys' original thoughts before we move on here when you woke up and you saw the report, because as you can see, this was fairly early in the morning right there. You see the timestamp right in front of you, right? We're talking about 6:18 in the morning, 5:18 for you, Richmond, long before you're watering your tomatoes on a nice. So, what are your guys' original thoughts? Because, listen, I know you guys have been following the news all weekend. We had heard what from different reports, different outlets. We're going to be aggressive after him. We're going to be aggressive after him. I think this shows different levels of aggressiveness. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I had to look up Sean Desai, however you say his last name. I wasn't for sure, but I saw where he worked for Fangio at Chicago. I guess it's where he got his start.
Yeah.
And it was saying he's like 39 years old, which is good. Fangio's 65, and I think if I'm going to be a coordinator for a team, I do want some say so of who the guys is going to be on my staff as far as defensive guys, who I can bring in, who I can't, this and that. And then, like you said earlier, I think it's almost a safety net that, if you bring Fangio in as a coordinator, Fangio is a hot name. So even if he's a coordinator and that improves, he's going to be back out there. People be looking at him for a head coaching job. And then that could, Desai could transition right into the coordinator job or vice versa. So it gives you some options. But, if I'm a coordinator, whatever like that, I do want some control of who the guys is going to be working for me on my staff, this and that. So it makes perfect sense. When I first read it last week, those were two names that I heard, but until I kind of researched it a little bit today, I didn't know that, Fangio was his mentor, which makes sense now. So what you're saying makes a whole lot of sense that, this is for the defense coordinator job, but also a possibility to say, okay, what type of control am I going to have as far as, putting my staff together, this and that. It makes perfect sense. And I think with a guy with Fangio and his record, and, he's been in the league long enough that he should be able to put his staff together. Because if you're going to let me fix it with the guys that I know is going to come in and implement what I want to do. And I'm sure he'll retain some guys off of the defensive staff, but it just makes sense to me. So, yeah, I can see that happen. It makes perfect sense.
Yep. Ballgame, your thoughts? Because listen, we're not going to drop the name, but I told you guys the third name that I've heard part of Fangio's staff, and we all love Sam Madison, but Sam Madison's job can be in jeopardy. He could be out the door if Fangio walks in, unless they find a co-role for him. What are your thoughts on Fangio potentially bringing in, not only Sean Desai or even Sean Desai as the contingency plan, but also, the names that I've told you that I'm hearing privately. I mean, what are your thoughts on? Because I haven't really got to pick your brain about Fangio and Sean Desai coming here.
Well, I think across the board, this will be a 2-for-1, a big one at that, because Fangio being long in the tooth at this point, 65. That's not to say that the guy really is going to be trying to stay around for another 4-5 years. So who better to turn the reins over to than his, than his protege. And I think a lot of things can speed that process up. But at the same time, the Dolphins don't lose in this position. You get all the experience of Fangio. This kid, I won't call him a kid, but Desai gets to go in and continue to soak up knowledge from him prior to, or even if he decides to stay. That just makes it that much more impressive. It makes it that much more better for him. But in the long scheme of things, it improves our position, because now you got, true experience coming to lead this young group of very skilled players we have on defense. And that's probably the one thing they were lacking with Poyer. So well, we know that. I'm going to say it's possible.
And I think we'll be able to get pressure with 4-man fronts.
Yeah.
Like this is a conversation, and we'll talk about, we'll go in depth on it and because it might be a kind of uncomfortable conversation for everyone here. If Fangio comes in, what do you do with Brandon Jones? They love their two high shells, but you got to be able to be a coverage guy. Would you make him a hybrid linebacker? Do you keep him just package specific? But all of a sudden, you've got a void. If you miss on Fangio and bring Desai in as a contingency plan, they love those two high shells, confusing quarterbacks, out of looks, the cover zero stuff, the stuff that he excels at. He's one of the best blitzing safety. All of a sudden, that's kind of irrelevant in what they want to do. They're not aggressive to those levels. So all of a sudden, Brandon Jones, who looks like a scheme-specific safety who could just become package-specific in a Fangio or Desai defense, right?
For me, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. But I think Brandon is
I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm just saying,
and open enough to the possibility that I think there's still a lot of tweaking that can be done with him to give him the tools necessary to make him a guy comparable for what you need back there at that strong safety spot. I mean, if he was 27, 28 years of age, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's too far gone. But, where he is right now with the right tutelage, I think any player between the age of 23 and 26, you can still get them to correct a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And, and get the guy to play to a level that you're comfortable with. That's just my opinion. Any good coach that really considers himself a good coach should be able to.
No, you're
take
not
that
lying.
player
That's why offensive coaches are very reluctant with these older quarterbacks that are 25 that come out, because they're pretty much almost set in their ways.
Stuck. Yeah.
Exactly. you maybe got a year or two to fix that, and you better fix it all, because by 27, 28, that shit's pretty much locked, right? Like, you're stuck in your ways. It's hard.
And then, we from time to time, defensive coordinators, right, nowadays, they're doing a better job at getting guys that can be completely versatile and do a lot of different things. But there used to be that you get a guy that all he want to do is stick his head in there and get dirty, so you made him the strong safety, and then you didn't require him to have to cover much other than an unathletic tight end. But if there was a running back that was a threat, then you'd find another guy a little bit smaller, shiftier, or hope that, the guy can just hold on for their life. But
you could use Brandon Jones in box package situations while using Verone McKinley or Needham if you can't find a replacement, because Eric Rowe just isn't the guy anymore. Coverage, right?
Right.
Anyway, so continuing on, this is what Jeff Darlington said. We got two things from Jeff Darlington here, gentlemen. Jeff Darlington, just not too long after the tweet I showed you this morning, at about 6:40, about a half hour later, said McDaniel and Fangio have a really good relationship. I always saw this pairing as an eventual likelihood, and it could have happened last year when Mike first got the job. But Fangio has a lot of interest elsewhere now. Guys, who was the only person in this community reporting that this is who Mike McDaniel wanted last year, and Greer blocked him? It was this guy. And, now you're seeing these mainstream guys hitting with it. And I'm telling you, the mutual interests, they have the same agent. And I from what I understand, the agent wants them together, and there's intrigue. Fangio is very intrigued. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go even a step further. And this is no basis of anything I've heard or know, but I just got a gut feeling. Listen, Richmond will back me up on this. You do not turn down promotions in the NFL. I couldn't have been the only one who looked at Darrell Bevel and said, you turned down two different promotions. What do you know that I don't know? What has you so confident that you're saying, I'm not going to go? You could go be the OC in the Commanders. They could draft a guy, or you could bring up Sam Howell. Has a lot of good tools, and they got a lot of weapons over there. You could be that OC. They got a great running game. The Jets are a quarterback away from having a scary offense when Breece Hall returns. Dolphin fans don't want to hear it, but that's the truth, okay? Garrett Wilson won Rookie of the Year, and on Sauce Gardner won Defensive Rookie of the Year. They won offensive and defensive. There were your guys. So, clean sweep by the Jets. All I'm saying is those are appealing if the right pieces get put in place, and they're each a quarterback away for Darrell Bevel. Anyways, my whole point is, what does he know that I don't know? So, that's why I'm like,
I think he knows that with a healthy tour, saying they're going to reset the record books, and there's nothing better than going through statistically, make the run, win it all, and then now you can go set your own marker. You know what I mean? Even if he does leave after this year, the guy that had turned around to it, then
what everyone thought
you can write your own ticket. You can say, So
Yep.
I mean, that's smart. That's a smart business, though.
Oh, it is.
And believing in himself. Yeah. So.
Okay, give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear this, just to verify. This is now what Jeff Darlington said this morning on the Joe Rose show. I want you to listen, okay? Because they'll open up and they'll talk, and Jeff Darlington will get right into it, and it's only about a minute and a half, right? So just give me a thumbs up.
And was bugging you. How you doing?
Anymore, Joe.
Yeah,
I'm back.
I know you are.
Back. It's fine.
Yeah. Hey,
That's no problem.
So Vic Fangio, you mentioned that Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio had some kind of relationship. Is there?
Yeah, they've known each other. They've known each other, and I know there's a very strong mutual respect there. In fact, last year, it was my belief that had they not stuck with their defensive coordinator, that
Coach Poyer,
that Mike McDaniel would have targeted and likely landed Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator. So, to me, even last year, I saw this as a scenario where if Poyer didn't succeed, that this could potentially happen. So we'll see. I mean, the problem here is Vic Fangio has a lot of suitors now.
Yes.
He's pretty red hot when it comes to a coordinator job that many teams currently have open. So, we'll see if it still works out. But to me, the established relationship could go a long way here.
Yeah, so we were just talking, and everybody's fired up today. We got to get Vic Fangio. We can't let him leave. We got to do whatever. Well, money's not going to be an issue. Stephen Ross is going to go like, hey, the guy's good at what he does. Let's pay him if it's about that. Will it be he's going to look at the talent, the core of talent, which they got really good players. Second of all, do coordinators look for control as far as free agents that I'm going to have a chance to get draft picks? Is that important to Vic Fangio?
I don't necessarily think so, but don't forget he's got Chubb, who he coached.
Bradley Chubb, you're right.
So who he coached in Denver. So I don't think that these guys push too hard, nor do I expect Fangio to be that guy. Knowing Fangio, look, if the connection is there with Mike and they believe that they can do something special, they'll just do it. Money will be right, to your point. Steve Ross in these situations is underestimated when it comes to his willingness to spend money to win. So that's one of those areas. It ain't a salary cap hindering you, So I think that they'd be willing to pay him. And I don't know. I'll honestly, I don't want to go too far here, but I would be surprised, honestly, at this point if that might be going too far. But I just think that I think there's a decent likelihood that this could happen.
Wow.
Okay, so come on, guys. He caught himself and stopped short. And what was he going to say? I'd be surprised if this doesn't happen at this point. That's exactly what Jeff Darlington was about to tell everyone. And this is a man plugged in with ESPN. Jeff Darlington, very plugged. And what else? Like two key things. What did he say? If Mike had his way last year and he didn't get stuck with Poyer, paraphrasing, but if he didn't get stuck with Poyer, Fangio would be our defensive coordinator right now. And now he's saying at this point, I'd be surprised if Fangio is not the guy.
Right.
So, it's getting to crazy. It's getting to real levels here. And he mentioned something about Ross's checkbook, right? We know it has no ends. We know they'll make him the highest paid defensive coordinator if they have to, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to, and we all know how plugged in this lady is. Did you guys see what Josina Anderson said this morning? Mm-hmm. This is what Josina Anderson said this morning, gentlemen. So this is 4 hours after the original report that he's interviewing today. Vic Fangio is a lead candidate. And look at, she even used interview in quotations, gentlemen.
Interview.
Look at, even the interview will be more than that. Expected to discuss terms and conditions as well. Mike McDaniel has a strong affinity for him again, per league source. Again, we'll see what Fangio's response is. They are doing... You know what we need to talk about here? Even if they don't land him, gentlemen, they are doing what Flores never did, right? They're doing what Flores never did. They are putting everything on the table to get the other side of the ball that the coach isn't as well versed on right. And you've got to give them their props right now. You've got to give the Miami Dolphins their props. 530 of you in the room. Please smash the like button. Richmond, Ballgame. Your thoughts before we go a little bit further here on the Fangio stuff.
Well, I think you want to go first, Ballgame? Go ahead.
That interview thing for me just basically outlines if I'm looking at it my eyes wide open. Just says basically it's his job. If it's his job, and if he don't want it, then that's fine. But like they're basically laying it out for him and letting him know, like, listen, this is you're who we want. You know what I'm saying? Tell us what you need. Tell us what we need to get this thing done and accomplished, so we can move on to the next phase of rebuilding in this offseason. Because you know what I'm saying, you've always been my guy, and I want to make it official. You know what I'm saying? The money is not an issue at this point. They have to go through the interview process, really. That's what it comes down to. That's why she put the quotations in there, interview. But Mike knows who he wants. And I'm 100% confident that Ross will make it happen if he can. It's on Fangio to decide if he really wants to take the position or not, or go do something else. But if you can get head coach money as a coordinator,
which is what he's probably going to get,
why
right?
not? You know what I'm saying?
And live in Miami, though.
So,
and live in Miami, right?
Yeah, tax free. Well, at least state income tax free. So yeah. What else do you need?
Richmond, your thoughts on this, especially with the media, because you know who's plugged and you know who's not. And Jeff Darlington is a guy who started in the South Florida media, and he's worked all the way up, and he's plugged, man. And what are your thoughts on what he's saying? And is it one of those things, Richmond, where it looks like it's becoming? Are you where he's at, where it's becoming more and more real? And at this point, you'd be surprised if Fangio wasn't the head coach? I mean, sorry, wasn't the defensive coordinator?
Well, like Ballgame said, the way she phrased it, I think the thing that you said also is to have the same agent. And to me, that's huge because they got a relationship, even though they got the same guy. So, and the third thing that I think Dolphin fans need to be appreciative of is that we have an owner that's willing to go out and get what's necessary to fit, and it shows that he wants to win. And I know a lot of times he's done some things in the past that people criticize, or people say, "Oh, he needs to sell a team" or whatever. But he's not here just to own a team. He's here to win, and I think he wants to bring a Super Bowl to Miami and bring the glory days back. So I think he's full in. I think he's committed. And also what Jeff said was that, like you said, his hands was kind of tied with Poyer. So, and Greer probably said, okay, you got to at least give him 1 year. Let's see if this thing works out. If not, we can
play your way.
We play it your way. But like Ballgame said,
answer me, Richmond, is it a real thing? Like, answer me this, because I've always just assumed it is, because I knew even at lower levels it was. But is it a real thing where did McDaniel, even though we were 9-8, but did McDaniel gain some, like, you've dealt with owners, you've dealt with GMs, a Garfinkel who's a team president, but in his hand, you've dealt with these kind of characters at the highest level. Is it a thing where McDaniel earned cachet with that playoff berth where, okay, we'll listen to him? Not only do we know that Fangio is a mind, but a genius defensively, but this kid clearly knows what he's doing with he did something we haven't seen in 7 years. Like, is it something where that kind of stuff will gain you cachet in the owner's office?
I think it earned him that even before the playoffs. I think when you see the transformation in our offense from the previous 2 years, and you've seen, the expectations he put on Tua, if you remove the concussions, you could easily say Tua. I'm not saying he would have won the MVP, but he would have been probably right there in the conversation as possibly top 5 quarterback. I mean, he was on that trajectory, unless it just fell apart. And the only thing that kind of slowed it down was that. So when you can get that type of production, you're like, whoa, this guy just got here and it's paying dividends already. I mean, the playoff was good. Yeah, that helped. But bringing in guys like Tyreek and you're seeing all these guys progress, all these guys come together.
Yeah.
Whereas the energy is different in the whole building. Yeah, I think that, and they say, hey, let's get this guy what he wants. So
yeah,
and he comes from a good tree, like you say, he comes from the Shanahan tree. So maybe they do things.
He did what hadn't been. He did essentially what they've been trying to do for the past 2 seasons. Though he got you in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that in itself is enough for them to look at it and say, man, why not? We tried everything else. Let's give the guy what he needs.
And they all know it. It's not like they all respect Fangio, know Fangio is. So like, well, the kid's smart enough. He's probably onto something.
Yeah.
And guys, again, I had a huge update on all the 4 teams I've heard are interested in Fangio and why. Patreon.com/Finside the NFL. It's right below there. Tonight, I'm going to have an update about Trey Lance. And after midnight, I will be dropping my 3-take Thursdays video. And it'll be 3 takes on the Dolphins defensive coordinator search. So you're going to want to check that out. I'm either going to drop the Trey Lance info as its own part, or I'm going to drop it in that video. Patreon.com/Finside the NFL. And if you are a YouTube channel member, you have access to the insider info. If you go check the community tab, you will have the Fangio update. I give you an update on the 4 teams I'm hearing, plus a third coach on the staff, and the second one that Fangio wants to bring over behind Sean Desai. Go check it out. Become a channel member or join the Patreon, patreon.com/Finside the NFL. Gentlemen, so we've gone through all of that. We've heard they're at the stages of negotiations. It still goes back to what I've heard, and this is what I've been telling everyone for a week. Our biggest roadblock, and they are one of the 4 teams that you will read about on the Patreon report, our biggest roadblock, and I've been saying this for over a week, and now outlets are reporting it, are the Philadelphia Eagles. He's Pennsylvania born. He went to university in Pennsylvania. Okay. And he's a defensive consultant right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. As everyone knows, he interviewed. He was going to become a defensive consultant. Early February, he's interviewing with San Fran, and he decided to go to Philly, right close to home. If Gannon gets a job, and I'm hearing there's the biggest possibility for Gannon to get a job is a Texans job. DeMeco Ryan, Sean Payton, from what I'm hearing, that's done in Denver. Payton's not going to Denver. Right now, Denver, their 2 top guys I'm hearing are Dan Quinn and DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans and Gannon are the 2 top contenders in Houston. The 2 top contenders I'm hearing in Indianapolis right now are Jeff Saturday and Raheem Morris. And then Steve Wilkes, and who was the other name? Steve Wilkes and one other name I heard for it's not Gannon though, for Carolina. So anyways, yeah, it's gonna come down. I think it's going to come down to us or Philadelphia. And listen, one thing for me that seems more appealing to me is we got a way younger roster. Like, he's going to have to turn over that defense. Fletcher Koch, all those guys are old, right? Even Darius Slay. Isn't Darius Slay like 30 or 31? Right? Like, he's
Brandon
he's
Graham,
like X's
all
age,
those
right?
guys are old.
Yeah, they're old, right? You're going to have to turn that over. You know what I mean? Like, you could come here and hit the ground running. Just fix that second level. You know what I mean? And you know what? One of the really big reasons I want Fangio, boys, he's going to fix that linebacker core. They're going to go buy a Tremaine Edmonds. They're going to go buy or Levante David as a stopgap, and they're going to spend capital and fix that. So, listen, it's going to be very interesting. And like, I know people keep asking, why isn't this done? Why nothing can be signed, sealed, and delivered? And I've been telling people this as well until the Eagles are knocked out. Right now, he's a defensive consultant, and he's really hands-on with the game planning. He will not make a move until the Eagles are out. So do not expect a move. So today they could have negotiated the contract, agreed on terms. You can come to an agreement, but you can't announce anything and you can't sign anything. So for anyone wondering, that's where that's at, okay? So they could have agreed on everything, but you know, and I don't like that. I want them knocked out as soon as possible. I don't want people. The Sharks will circle, brother. Right?
But,
hey?
And at the same thing, you want the same respect if someone's recruiting someone off the Dolphin staff. And you're in the playoff, you want them to really spend their energy to finish the job that's at hand. Yeah. So
you're in the Final Four, basically, right? You gotta, right?
You gotta be a little patient, but I hear you, brother. If this is the guy and we can go ahead and get him signed, that would be a beautiful thing. So yeah.
Come on, Brock Purdy. Let's go. Get it done, brother. Go get it done. Handle business, huh? Right? And because that keeps DeMeco Ryans, and that keeps a bunch of jobs afloat still, because DeMeco Ryans will be coaching in the Super Bowl. Beautiful. Let's go. You know? right? So then Gannon can't make a move because it's him and what's his face for the it's Gannon and Ryans for the Texans job. And if D'Amico still got to go play the Super Bowl and you got to wait for the Pro Bowl week too. Woo! We got a 2-week window, baby. Let's get it done. Get it done, bro. Slide in, eh? Like it's after midnight, you know? Slide in and shower off the perfume, kid.
Oh, wow.
All right. And then later on, continue. Yeah, I bring back memories. Ball game. What happened there? Hey, it looked like you went haywire. All right, so and then later on, announcement that happened, guys. Just in case, keep everyone updated. Kris Richard, the co-defensive coordinator for the Saints and DB's coach, he got a request and is expected to interview for the Dolphins coordinator job as well. Remember, if I remember correctly, ball game in Richmond, didn't it come down to like him and Flores?
Yep.
Right? Came down to him and Flores that cycle a while ago. So wow, how the mighty have fallen. But
That's a 4-3 guy though.
It is. Your thoughts? I wanted to ask you your thoughts on that because I mean, there's guys like Mike Zimmer and there's legitimate 4-3 guys out there in terms of with head coaching experience. Ball game, you know, John Fox. You could go. What are your thoughts? I mean, Lovie Smith, really, if you want to go 4-3 too. What are your thoughts on Kris Richard? Because he is a great young mind.
I don't have an issue with him. I thought he was. I think he's a lot like McDaniel's in terms of innovative thought processes and ways of going about trying to attack offenses and stuff with new age concepts that, you know what I'm saying, are unique to him as well. You know, football, they say you can't reinvent new things in football, but these young guys, man, seem to be really, really, really on top of making their looks and things and how they go about attacking offenses look completely unique at times. So, you know, a lot of stuff gets recycled over and over again, but when you see stuff that they're bringing from old school, revamping it and putting it in a new, you know, putting new twists on it, that just keeps the game inviting, and it keeps players too engaged because, you know, if you're out there just running basic cover 3 or you running basic cover 3 blitz, you know what I'm saying, all game long, you get bored in that. But if you got guys coming from all different directions and you still got coverage all over the board and you got athletes that are willing to take the challenge to make themselves better and not just be one-trick ponies, that makes the defense fun. And these guys, these young guys like Richard, that's what they bring to the table. Now Fangio is an old soul with a new age flair to how he goes about creating pressure. So that's why I don't mind him. You know what I mean? At 65, that's a wealth of knowledge that he got 2 or 3 years. He got 2 or 3 lifetimes of knowledge combined into one individual, and he probably forgot more football than most people ever remember. So, you know, I don't know, man. I just think this is a great place for the team overall to be in because all these guys bring their own unique twists to the defensive side of the ball, and they can all be effective as long as guys buy in. You know, and they've proven it over and over again. You know, so it's a good space for us to be in. I don't think we can really go wrong with a name unless you choose the guy clearly at the bottom of maybe a 10-15 player, 10-15 list name. But why would you have to go get that guy when your job is so sexy? You know, this is a very sexy position right now to be the Dolphins defensive coordinator. People knew Poyer was going to get canned, but, you know, Ross will give you all the opportunities to prove that you are the person. So somebody taking the job doesn't necessarily have to go into it looking over their shoulder. They get an opportunity to hit the ground, meet the guys, and then develop this thing the right way, you know. So it is what it is. My girlfriend thought she was going to have to hear these guys back
because the season was over, right?
Oh no!
The season was over. And shout out to Matthew Rankin. He says, "Thanks for the consistent quality content. The only channel with people who actually played and understand how team sport really works, and it's not like Madison Fantasy. Top panel with Martin too." Appreciate you, Matthew. Thank you for the support. All right, gentlemen. The other big conversation this week has been Saquon Barkley. And it all started with this. I mean, we can show you how it started. I can show you how it started, and this should probably end all discussions to be. But it started with Sportsline odd makers All right. They decided that we were the number one in terms of odds at plus 300. And then everyone ran with it. Oh, the Dolphins are favorites. The Dolphins are favorites. Listen, I'm going to tell all y'all right now, do not get your hopes up. You are talking. I sat there and put my running back big board together. And I told the Dolphin fan this. I'll tell you gentlemen this. I am fine with anyone. Like I got, I did a mock yesterday. I got like Chase Brown at like 150 something. Like, like
where'd McClintock go?
I don't know. I didn't watch. I just did a mock draft and just focused on us.
Okay.
I got my top 10 guys. I'm fine with anyone in my top 10. Like anyone. Obviously, I've been talking about Zach Charbonnet for like 2 years on this channel. Me and Neil have been talking about him. So like I'm a big Zach Charbonnet. But like I really became a Devon A-Chain fan.
Slow
Richmond,
down,
your boy. Brother, you get
Slow
that.
down,
brother,
Slow
you
down,
get him. If that guy slips to the second round,
you got to move some things, go up there and get him. I would.
That's world class.
You get that
speed. Yeah.
Oh, coming out of the backfield, man.
Yeah.
Man, that could be crazy for this offense. Anyways, so that's where this started with Saquon Barkley. Now, furthermore, what people have said, and what the reports are, is that Saquon Barkley has already turned down $12 million a year from the New York Giants. He said he doesn't want to reset the market, but he turned down $12 million a year. He wants McCaffrey money. Now, this is why, gentlemen. Yeah, this is why, gentlemen, it don't work and why you ain't going to pay him. I'm going to show you this right now. Okay? Watch this, gentlemen. Super Bowl winners leading rusher plus salary since 2009. The highest paid on this list was Leonard Fournette, making $2 million in 2020.
Percy Harvin in 2013 had 2.5.
Look at this. LeGarrette Blount, back-to-back. 3 out of 4 years in a row, and the guy made just over $2 million in those 3 years combined.
Yeah.
Is this not further proof that you are not going to spend $15 million, $14 million on Saquon Barkley, who also, listen, it's bad enough we gotta get a contingency plan in here for Tua because he's got availability issues. Now we gotta have a contingency plan for the running back.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, gentlemen. So your thoughts on, because this evidence is, I don't want to use the word damning, but I'll use the word damning. That's pretty freaking damning when you look at the money that's been spent. Boys, let's count up all this money. What is that? Saquon Barkley for 1 year? All that money added up right there? Hey? Am I lying, though, Richmond? I'm not even lying.
No, well, the running back position is just not – it's valued up until maybe 4 or 5 years, and they normally move off a guy and just get it. Yeah. The money has shifted to the wide receiver position. So, like you said, I don't see the Dolphins paying that kind of money. He had a great year this year, but he's had some injury issues as well. And I just don't see that happening. Like you said, he don't want to reset the market. But if he don't, he's going to have to probably do it somewhere else. I don't have Mr. Ross money or whatever, but I just don't see that happening. So I wish him well.
Yeah, he wants what McCaffrey got, but McCaffrey does so much more than just run the ball, bro. He's a unicorn right now. To try to compare yourself to him is really doing yourself a disservice.
I love Saquon. I want people to realize, and I know you know this. I love Saquon, but $15 million, I don't love him that much.
Not the 15. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, sir.
Mm-mm. There's some people, anyways. Yeah. So,
well, my dad said that dog will not hunt.
Well, if you go read Sportsline's article about why they made us the top odds, it's because all of our guys are free agents right now. That's why we got no one. It's even Salvin Ahmed, right? He's a restricted free. He was on a restricted free agent deal last year, right? So, Ballgame, this one's for you. This one's for you, Ballgame. Knight, he asked, Poyer, ? And the reason why he's asking that ball game is because of this. I'm kidding y'all with them from I'm blindsiding y'all like you didn't even see me coming in, bro. All right. This is what happened on Instagram. Someone said, "We need you in Miami. Pair you with Javon Holland would be crazy." And Poyer, Jordan Poyer, liked it. The safety from Buffalo. And we talked earlier about if you bring in Fangio, you're going to need another safety. Now, would you line that up with because Holland's on his rookie deal and you and Byron's money's leaving? Okay, and by the way, everyone watching 581, the first episode live on Finside the NFL on Thursday nights of Fin Too Deep with me and Neil Driscoll will be tomorrow, and we will be dedicating a portion of that show to the salary cap. And wait till y'all see what we got in store. I don't want to hear no one talk about the salary cap till after you watch us tomorrow night. Anyways, continue ball game. Your thoughts, because people want to know. All of a sudden, this is the new play. People are like, oh, you know how it is. It's free agency. So anyone shows any interest, and Dolphin fans just gush. What's your thoughts? You ain't with it. Money?
No, I'm not with it. Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna get paid.
That dude is not gonna come. He's not gonna come cheap. First of all, and I just feel like if Jones comes back healthy and then you go and pull the trigger and bring a guy like this in, you're stunting Jones' growth to some degree. He's never gonna get the reps because you got to play this dude. You got to play him if you pay him. You see what I'm saying? So now you got your young guy who unfortunately was, knocked out of the season for injury, but he's back ready to get back at it. And now he's got to play behind this guy who just basically spent all his money. I don't like it. I say stay young, bring in somebody to coach him up, teach him what he needs to be taught. You know what I'm saying? And then you can prolong his career and the back end with the youth as opposed to having to get this guy, bring him in, and then now you got to pay him. You got to play him just off the fact that you just paid him a ridiculous amount. That's Buffalo's issue to fix. And if he goes somewhere else out of the division, that's even better for us because at the end of the day, I think our guys are young enough, and with the coaches that could be potentially coming in, they can fix any issues we got in the secondary, and we can still arguably have one of the youngest secondaries, one of the young best secondaries in the league, in my opinion. So I don't just jump out there like that. You know what I mean? I like Jordan Poyer for who he is and what he does for Buffalo, but at the end of the day, I think we can still get the same type of productivity, you know what I'm saying, from our young guys as long as we just coach them up and it don't cost you as much. So,
yeah, it was I believe it was someone.
Now Edmonds is different.
It's one of my longtime watchers, Gavin Hatch. He's in the comments. That was his comment. And he even said that Poyer sent him eyes to his DM.
Yeah, Edmonds is different because that's a bigger need for the team at middle linebacker. But
I agree.
Even then,
that's
I got
go.
people.
I want Edmonds.
People punch. I think they're real high on Tyndall, man. And they got the guy watching all of Warner and Wagner's film. You know what I mean? That was his whole thing. So watch from the sideline, study because
ball game froze.
He froze up. Thaw out.
There we go.
Come on, thaw out a little bit. Turn the heat up a little bit.
Okay, my bad. Yeah. So I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This money got to be spending this money got to make sense. And Brandon, they had him in a limited role doing specific things, but I believe the kid can do so much more. So I put my eggs in that basket. I think he can expand his role and be everything we need at that strong safety position, and him and Holly can give us years of top-notch productivity together. So,
what are your thoughts on the situation, Richmond? Would you see them spending big money on another safety?
Before safety, like you said, I agree more with filling a need at a linebacker position. Like you said, when you got young guys that are progressing, if you can get a guy that can, be productive and continue to progress at that position that you feel really good about, I think you can leave him there and possibly draft another guy to back him up you continue to develop guys because at certain points you got to make a decision on a core group of guys you're gonna keep it. At some point, you just can't keep everybody. That's why they have free agency. So,
Yeah.
like you said, I think the linebacker position is a bigger need, and I think what do you do at the other corner beside X? So it's some decisions you got to make that be made there too. So,
yep, I agree.
Safety is important, but when you got a guy like Holland, and then like Ballgame said, the way Jones was playing this and that, I think we can stick with him, and it'll save us money, but we can spend that money somewhere else. I guess that's the way I look at it.
I agree. And interesting, just so you guys know, this is what Jordan Poyer's brother said, just like literally a day ago. LOLing at myself, knowing there's a possibility I'm gonna have to walk back my hatred of some team's fan base this year. Sure, division rival, don't it? Sure, sound like a division rival, don't it?
Yeah, buddy.
That's why people were running further with it. It sounds like he's going to a division rival potentially, so that's why people were kind of running with it. Your guys' thoughts. I know I did it on Finside the NFL, my own. I had I want your guys your Richmond will start with you. Who is your offensive MVP and most improved? For me, it was Tyreek Hill, and my most improved was Tua Tagovailoa. Who is your most improved and offensive MVP this year?
Yeah, that's what I had wrote down. You probably can't see it, but anyway, I said Tyreek Hill is the offensive MVP and overall MVP of the team. I think just the way he came in, I think he showed some of these young guys, coming from Kansas City, his work ethic and this and that. And then I also knew that, even with Jalen Waddle, he was pushing him to say, you got to be better than me, this and that. And it was all about winning, this and that. And then when it came to the most improved, I kept going through it. I said, well, a lot of these guys hadn't really played enough. So I said it kind of boiled down to Tua because Austin Jackson got hurt, Eichenberg got hurt. So I was kind of like, man, where did I go? And I was like, Jalen Waddle, he had a great rookie year. Yeah, but I was like, he was kind of consistent. So I said, but most improved. I think when you look at, like we talked about mid-season, that, you could make a case for Tua for MVP or Tyreek Hill. And just the way, his numbers just exploded and this and that. I said, Tua's the most improved. And it was really how a lot of the fan base made a complete U-turn on that kid, because first it was like, this and that, blah blah blah, and this and that. But yeah, that's what I had, and so I don't know. I must have read your mind or something. I might got a couple of cameras over there in your house. You better be careful, bro.
Russell says Edmonds, Bates, Bozeman, Mayfield. That's some of the free agents he wants. He wants Jesse Bates, 25 years old, instead of spending all that money on a Poyer, and I would actually tend to agree with him on a Bates. Kills says, reason if we cut Baker, would we have money to go get Edmonds? We'd have the money without cutting Baker. Tune in tomorrow night with me and Neil Driscoll. We'll show you exactly how. Listen, Ballgame, who was your defensive MVP and who was your most improved defensive player for the year?
Oh, man, no-brainer, bro. Defensive MVP was Christian Wilkins, the man that everybody last season was wanting out of here because they said he was a bust. And now he's in the NFL record books as the most tackles ever in the season by a defensive tackle. So, for those people out here that were talking reckless, you already know. And then just his leadership, man. The guy turned into exactly an adult and grown version of who he was at Clemson when he led those guys to the championship, and they won the national championship. It took him a couple of years, but I always tell people, you know what I'm saying, some things are worth waiting on, and for him and to watch him take this leap to essentially cement himself now, in my opinion, as arguably one of the top three at the position, and in the heir apparent to taking over the legacy of an undersized guy like Aaron Donald. You know what I mean? I can see Christian play consistently going to continue to be better, and he's just got guys around him motivated. Man, he keeps the energy up. He's a definite without a shadow of a doubt leader on that defense. You know what I mean? And for me, without him, they play completely different. You know what I mean? If he wasn't on the field, then you saw a different version of the defense. So he's definitely my defensive MVP. And most improved, has got to go to the young gun once again, man. Jalen Phillips. Arguably, I can't think of two players. I mean, you want to give Kadu his grades, but I'm talking guys that we picked that we expected great things from out the gate. Jalen is not failed. I mean, he failed early in the rookie season, and then he picked it up towards the end of last season. And out the gate this year, he's been consistently just getting better and better and better and better. And that's improvement across the board in his hand technique and his discipline and his eyes, in his lateral movement and his punch at the point of attack, shedding blocks, all of those things he improved across the board to the point that the number of, he didn't get the sacks he wanted, but shit, I'll take pressures because pressures affect the quarterback just as much. And he arguably had as many as some of the top guys that had the sacks. You see what I'm saying? So he just got to close the deal. And I think in the third year for him, he's gonna jump off the screen for folks. So those two guys are for me the defensive MVP and the most improved player on this defense this year. And I'm ecstatic, man, see what it looks like for them with an actual coordinator that's going to fire them up and I want to
get your thoughts on that ball game. I want to get your thoughts on that ball game. Okay, because no one's heard you yet. I mean, I've given out my list, right? Like I want to hear some of your I asked you for your top 5 potential defensive coordinator candidates. I've given out my list. Obviously, Fangio, Fox, Wilkes, Marvin Lewis, Mike Zimmer, Lovie Smith, Joe Woods, Gerard Mayo, Chris Kukurik, Chris Richard, Eric Washington was on the list I originally put out. Guys you can add to that are like, you could go ahead and, if you want to go after trying, people want to bring out a Wade Phillips or something like that. Also Evero, the DC from Denver, because they're going to get a new coaching staff and he might get, and obviously Sean Desai. Who are some of give me 5 candidates, that you really like for this job?
Well, so for me, because of the youth, because of the youngness of our head coach on that side of the ball, I always feel like there has to be and needs to be a balance. Right. So if you're going to go young at that position and not as much experience on offense, you need somebody to stabilize your defense. So top guy right out the gate for me is Fangio. Now, obviously, we can't get D'Amico because he's going to probably be going somewhere else as a head coach. But the next guy for me would have been Lovie Smith. And I like and it was Lovie Smith because of his experience in the league. And, the fact of the matter is that one thing's for certain, the guy's always been able to command the defense and get the most out of his players. You see what I'm saying? The third potential person for me would have been my man that was a head coach at Cincinnati for a while, and Marvin Lewis. But I don't know if Marvin necessarily want to have to deal with the politics of coming back into the NFL and dealing with all the foolishness, because he had an opportunity, and I watched him for a period of time when he was talking to Fred Taylor and those guys on their podcast. And he was like, the politics just took the love of the game from him. So, but all of those guys have and fit the one thing that I know that you need to be able to balance off Mike, which is the experience factor. But if you're going to go young, then right at the top, I knew who Desai was. So he was not a mystery for me. And I knew that, there's certain trees that you need to be pulling fruit from, and you can be successful if you plant those seeds properly. And I'm okay with him. And I'm okay with Richard because he was the second guy. He was a runner-up to Brian Flores. So I know that those guys know what they're doing. They have they're well respected around the league. And at the same time, they both go through the process of if player evaluation is important to them. Like they start with a guy from where they start a player off to where he finish up, by the time that that player has blossomed, he's a completely different player. Nobody really recognizes him because those guys they invest in their players, young guys and all. Like nobody would have ever thought that Woolen, right up there in Seattle at the cornerback position, you know what I'm saying? That guy was a 5th round pick. Yeah, he was fast, but he was raw as hell. And look at him, right? He was damn near one of the guys that they were talking about, you know what I'm saying, against Sauce Gardner for Defensive Player of the Year. You see what I'm saying? But that's buy-in, and that's those guys still bring that fire and desire for coaching at that level. And the experienced older guys, I think they can feed their knowledge into younger assistants and get the most out of those guys as well. You know what I mean? So you still need a balance, but I would prefer to go experience, have an experienced DC, and then let Mike do what he's going to do on offense, and then you balance across the board. So, yeah, Fangio, Lovie Smith, Todd Bowles ain't going nowhere, so I didn't put him on the list. Then you got Marvin Lewis, Desai, and then for me, Richard out of New Orleans. Those would be my top 5. Because all of those guys, they have the Rick James, man. They have that fire and desire. You know what I'm saying?
Let's hope cocaine ain't a hell of a drug for them, like it was for Chris Forrester. All right, let's just hope that unity. All right, guys, your final thoughts on the whole defensive coordinator search. The Poyer firing, because you guys really didn't talk about Poyer as much. So, floor is yours. Final thoughts before we get out of here. Richmond, we'll start for you, and give me a prediction on how big your tomatoes are going to grow this year.
Hey, the thing I will say is, and your Ballgame was dead on this, is we kind of talked about it, and y'all said, it really didn't matter what he did the last game. Even though we lost to Buffalo in the playoffs, the defense played pretty well, but y'all pretty much said he was gone, this and that. So, I mean, y'all hit the nail on the head. But I think what I do like is the aggressiveness, and then what I like about what the Dolphins are doing, they're continually trying to upgrade to say, okay, how can we get better? Not just bring a guy in just to say, okay, we fire one guy, let's bring this guy in. They're truly trying to get better to say, hey, if we fix a couple things, we're right there in the conversation to be one of the top teams in the AFC to possibly get that push to, make it to the next level. And I think that's what fans should really focus on. I know at times, the little 5-game slid stuff that got a little frustrating, but if you just kind of sit back and just look at what's going on and the way they did, I think they're going to target the right free agents, this and that. I think we're going to be in good hands. So we'll definitely have something to build on from, 2022 to 2023. And I just enjoy the ride. I mean, it wasn't as sweet as we wanted it to be, but it sure wasn't as bad as it could have been. So we're in good hands. I feel good. Just hang in there with us, and we're getting back to the glory days. So that's all I got for y'all.
Ballgame, your final thoughts.
I think for me, man, I expressed it all season long that there were things, and there were obviously moments throughout the season that I felt like the regression of the defense was just too much for him to be able to overcome, and being Poyer. I didn't think even last year that he was ready for the job, just because of the fact that we were uncertain as to who was calling the defense when they were calling it at different spurts and times, and you could see different tendencies that showed up. And I don't even think it was him, to be honest with you. I think it was Alexander and Flores doing it. So then you get a full look at him this year, and the regression is just too much to overcome, man. There's too much talent on this defense for them to be as bad at times as they were. And then his situational play calling was just horrendous, right? You play scared when you have chances and opportunities to be aggressive, and you know what I'm saying, really input your your scheme or your aggressiveness, showcase it, and you didn't.
Yeah.
And then when you did want to do it, you got burnt for it because you telegraphed it. Like you can't in the NFL. You either gonna be out. You either have to be all in and be a bully about the process, or you're gonna be basically bullied all over the process by the offense and being pushed around. And we got pushed around at times when we shouldn't have. So for me, I'm glad, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not a great thing for his family, but at the end of the day, somebody will pick him up, you know, but it's a business too. And you have to perform. And they didn't perform. For 2 years in a row, they regressed. And, you know what I'm saying, coming down the stretch, late stretch changes and things of that nature doesn't rule out what happened in the entire totality of the season. And I just think that there was just too much stuff to overlook that,
too little,
that happened
too late
with him. And, you know, players didn't. Yeah, too little, too late, and players didn't really. Under him, I don't think they progressed on their own because they're just professionals. They did. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And then when you have your number one, I think the nail in the coffin was when your number one corner comes out and says, "I still feel like if I'm put in the best positions, I can still play at a high level, but I don't believe I was put in no positions." And X said that. So that to me, I think was the last nail in the coffin. You know what I mean? And you go through the process of doing things the right way, give your best shot in the playoffs. But you know, this team is headed in the right direction, and I think any decision they make at this point, whether they don't get Fangio and they go with Desai, look at that Seattle defense. You know what I mean? They had a good defense. They kept them in. That defense kept in a lot of games because Geno Smith was not great at times, and the defense did their job week in and week out. So I don't think we can miss. Like I said, it's a sexy position, and only the guys that truly know what they're doing will be guys that we'll look at anyway. You're not gonna just go out and just get some Joe Small off the street and say, you know what? Oh, let's just give this guy a try. No, it's gonna be somebody who's well respected and well regarded in the league, and you can't go wrong there. I think all of the names that I mentioned and the ones that you mentioned on the list are guys that can come in and do a better job with this group than Poyer did, and that's a plus. And that's and that's an advantage for us back in the right direction. You know what I mean? And that's really all we can ask for. But I think the stars really bright for this team, man. Making the playoffs is one thing. Now it's about winning the division next, so you can be in one of those spots to host the game at home. And I think that we put Buffalo on notice, and everybody else in our division on notice that it's not going to be a cakewalk to beat us. And with a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, I don't believe anybody in the division going to be able to beat us, to be honest with you, because they struggled against Skylar Thompson. So healthy Tua, you know what I mean? And I believe they're going to find the money, spend the money in the right spaces to improve both sides of the ball, and we're going to be as competitive as hell, and it's going to be a good year. Good years going forward. So.
All right, gentlemen. Knight donates $2. He said, "Man, the schedule is rough next year. Second hardest."
That's what you want.
Here's the deal, guys. Tomorrow I'm going to be back with Neil Driscoll, and me and Neil are going to break down the cap. We'll do all that kind of stuff. I'll be live Friday or Saturday as well. If you are a Patreon tonight after midnight, late night, you can expect my 3 Take Thursday to come out, as well as either in that video or in its own separate update on Patreon. I am going to have an update on what I'm hearing is a contingency plan for Tua Tagovailoa right now, what is being explored, what is being talked about, and there's one name in particular I am hearing. So I'll be going over that with y'all tonight, patreon.com/Finside the NFL. For me in this whole Fangio search and this whole defensive coordinator search, listen, I know we all want Fangio, but people have to also realize that Philadelphia is in real play here. So, the old saying is don't put all your eggs in one basket. I don't want people to just be let down and everyone else is trash compared to Fangio, because there are some good experienced minds out there, but there are also some really great young minds out there as well, who I think could do some special things with this defense. So I don't want people just to blow it off if we don't get Fangio, because people need to realize the family ties and everything. I mean, those Italian ties run thick when it comes to family. And out there in Pennsylvania, where he's from, there's a lot of family out there. And listen, like I said earlier, I'm excited about Fangio coming and the personnel he's going to fix. the changes he's going to make. I know someone asked earlier about, well, you got to get Saquon to get Edmonds. No, Edmonds, will weak side. Edmonds, I'm sticking right in the middle. Edmonds makes Jerome Baker's job easier. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And Jerome Baker could probably maybe find a next level to his game with a guy like Tremaine Edmonds on the second level. Facts. Right?
Yep.
Guys like that have a ripple effect. Like
100%.
how Teron Armstead had a ripple effect across when guys line up next to him. Same thing. What were you going to say, Ballgame?
Well, I just said Baker been out of position. He's been played out of position for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, he's a weak side and
4 seasons, really, since he's been here.
He's a weak side and a wide 9-4-3.
Yeah, in a 4-3.
Yeah. He's not a scheme fit. They kind of been forcing him into. And to be honest with you, he's gotten better every year. And this is from a guy who's not a fan of the kid, really, in terms of his play. I got no problem with him personally, right? But this year was probably his best year we've seen in our defense, right? So you just got to be objective and call it what it is. So, man, I'm just excited because I know they're going to clear up. Listen, everyone wants to call for Greer's head, but when him and Brandon Shore go from $20 million in the hole to over $60 million to spend, I don't want to hear nothing from no one because listen, this roster,
be doing this.
What people need to be excited about, from the coaching staff to the personnel that's going to be on that field, this roster is going to be even better than what we saw this year. And that, my friends, if everyone can stay healthy, is a very, very scary thought for the rest of the AFC, the AFC East, and the NFL. The Bills, brother, we caught up. Now we make the right moves. This is the offseason to pass the Bills. The Bills could lose Poyer. They could lose Edmonds. They could regress, man. And this is the offseason where if you make the right decisions, you can now pass them and become the cream of the crop in the AFC East. Massive, massive offseason for the Miami Dolphins. And it's just getting started, baby. And the excitement is just starting out. So, Richmond, Ballgame, I want to thank both of y'all. We'll be back next week. Same Finside time, same Finside channel, when we dive back in with y'all and we see all y'all right back here at the finish line. Until then, everyone stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. I'll see all y'all tomorrow night for Fin Too Deep with Neil Driscoll, where we'll have much more on Fangio, as well as breaking down the salary cap and showing all y'all how easy it is to create money. Tune in. See y'all tomorrow night. Fins up, everyone.
Peace out.